for joining us. We're coming to you from the Athena Hotel in Bugolobi. Tonight, she's a poet, an upcoming writer, but she's still figuring out what she wants to do with the rest of her life. The first time she met me, she said, "Josephine, I have a message." And we're giving her the platform tonight to share what that message is. But before we do that, let's hear what her father had to say.
Santa, unfortunately, has not put the good pictures of hers there from birth. She refused those pictures from birth to baptism. She doesn't want to see herself as she was before she fell sick. She was born very healthy, very beautiful. She first began to get an allergy at 7 months, which we treated, and she responded. She was allergic to cold, allergic to dust, but being in a house that had no good aeration, we felt maybe that was where the problem was. So Santa got some medication, and she stabilized until the age of 5. Age of 5, we were working in Ginger when Santa began to show some kind of retardedness. She would come back from school and would not play. And a rash developed somewhere here. And we felt it was these raw small mangoes that she had eaten and possibly had spoiled her. But whenever she would come, she would not manage to sit. She would not play. She had a small tricycle to ride. She would not, and we often punished her because she had used to being that very active, jolly, playful girl. So towards the end of 2005, I was in UNEB for marking. And when I got back home, the mom told me Santa is not doing fine. I asked what is the problem. Says, possibly we need to take her for better checkup. So we went to a clinic in Ginger called Rana Clinic, where the doctor did some diagnosis and gave her some treatment. But after 5 days, there was no good response. So we left. According to the doctor, he referred us to the Heart Institute in Mulago. We got to Mulago when the doctors were on strike. So we were received and given a bed, but no treatment. And the condition was worsening. By the age of 5, Santa was weighing 35 kilograms. She no longer sits, she no longer squats, she could only lie. If you left her on one side and you spent the whole 12 hours, you'd get her on the same position. Unfortunately, or fortunately, the mother had a follower. And you know, in hospital, they don't allow you with a small baby to be an attendant. So I have been Santa's attendant from that age. So when we were in Mulago and things could not work out, we had to leave and got back to Ginger. When we reached Ginger, things were worsening. The condition was becoming bad. Now we met one of our former students whose uncle is a doctor in Zambia, Dr. Silva. So this girl now says, no, there is somebody who deals with children, but has been in South Africa, but you give it a try, she might be of help. So now we are to leave Ginger for in Zambia hospital. But the challenge we had is she's 35 kilograms, and you're supposed to carry her. I would put my arms like this because she cannot fall. So I had to walk, say, for 100 meters, and then you squat. You remain holding her.
To rest.
It is now me resting because of the weight. Then again you get up. We used to stay in Magua. No border would accept to carry us because of her condition. She was swollen, purplish, and people knew she would pass on any time. Even when we would get to a taxi, other passengers would not board. So many times we would be chased out. So what I resorted to doing was taking the front seats so that it is totally locked and people get into the back. So when we got to Insambia, we met Dr. Chituka, looked at this small girl and referred us to Doctor's Plaza, Gaba Road. So they did their tests and she came up with a hypothesis that seemingly it is her own immune system fighting her. So we got back to Insambia, children's ward, and Santa was given an isolation room, William isolation ward. That was now late, I think coming to 5. We had left Ginger in the morning. The mother was carrying her follower. I was carrying her. We had not thought that she would be admitted. So we are not prepared to carry a bed sheet or carry some food or whatever. So after the admission, the mother now told me she was leaving to go to Banda where she had an elder sister. But on the way, I think she made up her mind to travel back to Ginger. That faithful evening, there was a heavy downpour. What I had put on her bed was a very small cloth they had used for carrying the sister. So when she complained of cold, I actually removed my shirt and gave it for her. And we remained seated. At 10 o'clock, the first nurse to come rolling her trolley gets into the ward, looks at me and says, "Teacher, what are you doing here?" They were calling her Lewinsky. You remember the Clinton issue? So they said she was as beautiful as Lewinsky. I say, no, it is Lewi who is sick. So she checked, she had my shirt. This girl abandoned everything in the room and ran to her house, picked a blanket, bed sheets, a flask, brought for me a radio and whatever. For the first time, I appreciated being a teacher. For the first time. Because I could now get back my shirt. I was given a flask of hot water to take. And the girl told me not to sleep in the ward. So you go to my house, I'm going to take care of this small girl. So we were there, even the elections of Feb 2006 got us in hospital where she was being managed. She now had to go through physiotherapy. Whenever she would eat directly, the food would come back the way she had taken it. So she was being fed using a tube. One time I remember I clashed with one of my uncles who came home and got this small girl lying down. Told me, "Boniface, you are young. You don't know how people die." So I'm advising that it is better we travel with this girl so that she passes on from where? From the village. I actually told my uncle to leave my home. So when we got discharged, she began responding positively, but demanded that she wanted to get back to school. Now the challenge was Victoria Nile Primary School, where she was studying. Other learners felt this condition was contagious. The teachers didn't want her, the learners didn't want her, so I had to get back to the head teacher and explain to her that this condition is not contagious. When we first saw the first signs, in a layman thinking, for me, I felt maybe this girl had developed leprosy, which is a bit contagious. But when we got to hospital and the doctor Googled and even gave us a printout, it completely eradicated that fear from us. So we had to talk to other people and say, no, this condition cannot move even if you share the food. She wanted to be with the rest in the dormitory. You know, that happiness of joining secondary school. And we gave her a chance to be in the dormitory, but hardly 3 days, she had a relapse of the condition. So I had to get back to my head teacher, Reverend Sister Susan Clare, to request that Santa operates from my home. I had problems with her. She was not very comfortable, me washing for her. You know, at a certain time now when she reached puberty, she would say, Daddy, no. I tell her, but I know what is happening. So just feel free, throw those things in the washroom, go to school. So when she's at school, I would get into her bedroom and pick whatever is there. I would wash, dry and iron for her. So this is the far I have moved with this small friend of mine.
Ladies and gentlemen, Santa Lucy Fungaro. Hi, Santa.
Hi, Josephine.
How are you?
I'm okay.
You just heard what your father had to say.
Yeah, I did.
What were you thinking when he was speaking?
I thought about how caring he is, how blessed I am to have him, and how I wouldn't ask for anything more in the world because it is him that has been there right from the word go, and I'm sure he will never leave my side ever again, no matter what.
Of all of the things that he said, what stood out the most for you?
Hearing him talk about how he would carry me from the taxi park to the hospital was probably the most touching of all, because he talked about how he would have to walk for about 100 meters, then squat down to rest. And I was unconscious then and hardly knew anything. And hearing him say that, something he has never told me, just touched me, and I feel like he's the greatest dad in the world.
What else did he say that he'd never told you, you'd never heard before? Or hadn't even thought about?
How his uncle had actually told him to take me to the village that I could die from there rather than him keeping me around, because, okay, that has touched me in a way that I didn't know that my relatives at some point had thought of me as a dead body. Or a living dead, I should say, because asking you to take your own kid to the village and wait for the person to die is like, she's already dead. Let her just wait to be buried. So it means a lot that he didn't heed to his words and kept me around.
We weren't able to speak with your mother, but I spoke to her on phone a few minutes ago. What do you think she would have said?
I think she would have said the same. Probably even broken down and cried, because she never wants to talk about it. She says that's a past she wants to keep there. She doesn't want to remember it now that I can walk, because I used not to walk. I used not to eat. I would not bend. I would not do anything for myself. So she's happy seeing me where I am right now. To her, I'm that blessing that she would never have thought of having, because she thought she had lost me. And the fact that I'm alive and kicking and I'm always jumpy, stubborn and disturbing her.
I attest to that.
She's really happy with where I am right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the things your father said, if I remember correctly, he said that he was showing me, the pictures he was showing me, you were there. He says he couldn't bring pictures from before you were age 5 because you don't want to see them. Why?
My life began at the age of 5. I practically don't remember anything from age 0 to 5 because it was a life lived with a lot of fun. I was so healthy. I didn't have any problems back then. But from the age of 5 is when I should say I matured, because life taught me the hard way. I lost friends, and I wanted to keep those memories so fresh because that is what is going to guide my life.
What do you remember? Your father gave us his recount of all of it. Actually, before we get there, your sister. I've seen her in the pictures. That's the one person I haven't spoken to. How old is she now?
She's 14.
Okay, what's she like?
She's so quiet. I think she was traumatized seeing her big sister like that. She's so reserved. She only speaks when she's spoken to. And she's just this person that is so much into herself. And she's so God-fearing. She's always praying for me and telling me, Sandra, you'll be better. You'll be fine. You're my role model, that kind of stuff. And she says she's going to become a doctor so that we don't have to suffer again, because we went through a lot. Like, from the time I fell sick, I remember getting to be diagnosed with dermatomyositis took a lot of time. It was a very, very long time. It was actually after about 8 months that they finally got to know that, yeah, Santa has this. So she said she's going to read so hard and become a neurosurgeon so that at the end of it all, people don't have to suffer. Wow. And she'll build a hospital. She has a lot of dreams.
I was going to ask you about what you remember from the age of 5, the period that you want to remember. Your father gave us his version of the events as they unfolded. What do you remember?
I remember going to Doctor's Plaza with Daddy the time I was diagnosed with a condition, because we went to Mulago. Mulago said they cannot manage. Like Daddy said, the doctors were on strike and they at some point said they can't manage. So Daddy came back, he was so frustrated, and coming to Doctor's Plaza in Zambia and them finally getting to find out that this is a condition called dermatomyositis. And I remember the doctor saying she is the second medically registered in the country since 1952, and the word stuck. So I'm like, in a way I'm a celebrity because this is a condition that people don't know about. So it felt good getting a relief and finally being put on medication. Then I also remember physiotherapy. I think that was my worst time, having to go, being massaged, riding the bicycle and crying. In one of the pictures, I think you can see Daddy is helping me ride. And it was really, really so painful. But yeah, at the end of it all, I managed to come out of it. And then there was a time I was in theater. I remember I had a calcification to be removed.
You can't say things like that and just I don't know what's a calcification.
A calcification is something like a wasted muscle.
Okay.
And this is a result of steroids, because I've been on steroids right from the age of 5 in 2005 when I was first diagnosed. Yeah, so I've been on steroids. I've been taking prednisone, about 18 tablets a day. That is 6 in the morning, 6 in the afternoon, and 6 in the evening. But as of now, I don't. I got tired of it, and I believe I'm strong enough. If death is to come, we shall face each other, woman to woman, if it's a woman. So I no longer take the steroids because the calcifications were becoming so many. Like these on my hands, there were really so many, and I had one here that had to be removed. So at the age of 6, I had my first surgery. I was in theater for about 7 hours because it was really deep. I remember they told me not to eat lunch, and I was really hungry. So Daddy gave me water, I took water, they deceived me with juice. And being a kid then, I was happy, went to theater, came back. But we didn't sleep in the hospital that night because Daddy didn't have the money. So we had to travel back from Zambia to Jinja. Surgery got done at around 7. So by 9, we were in a coaster back to Jinja.
What? On the same day?
Yes. So it will forever be a very vivid memory because I remember telling Daddy I will not die. And yeah, I'm still living.
You make it very hard to be sad because you make jokes out of, Even the most difficult things.
There comes a time in life where you've cried enough, you've been through it all, and it's practically pointless to be sad. Because if you be sad, you're going to grow old, yet you have a lot of things to do, and you have a very good life to live. So it's better you leave the past in the past and pick up the pieces and build a new life. Because at the end of it all, it's our past that helps us to reach our futures.
You're teaching me many things. So let's take a short break so I can get my notebook, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. We're coming to you from the Athena Hotel in Bugolobi. I mentioned earlier who was speaking to Santa Lucy Fungaro, a young woman who, well, she's doing the most. Thank you once again, Santa, for joining us and for agreeing to share this story.
Thank you, Josephine.
So the first time we met, do you remember what you told me?
Yes.
What did you say?
I am not contagious.
Well, that wasn't a message to me. It's the message you wanted to pass on, right?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me about that.
Well, sometime back this year, in January, someone said something to me that really touched me, something that I'd never heard before. The person walked up to me and told me, I can't be in the same group with you because you're contagious. That was one. Second time was a parent to a friend who told the person to stay away from me because I bring bad luck. I am contagious, and my condition cannot be treated, and I'm going to pass it on to this person. So I was like, it's okay. Truth is, I cried, and after crying, I was like, but why are you crying? What are you crying over? People are always going to talk, Santa. People are always going to talk. So the person insisted and kept on being friends with me. Then when the parents found out this person was badly beaten for being with me, and they threatened to stop paying tuition. So he's like, Santa, you know what, we can be friends, but just don't come close to me. I'm like, it's okay, if you see me turn the other side, I'll also not talk to you. But then he kept on checking up on me, and he's like, okay, this feels inhuman, you don't deserve this. I'm like, no, you need your parents, blood is thicker than water. Then still they find out that we are talking. I don't know how. I think they had put spies to see if we are really talking. Yeah, they were that serious.
That's extreme.
They were that serious. They didn't want me to talk to those kids, and they're like, I'm going to infect them. So they tell them, if I find you with that girl, actually they termed it in Luganda, oyo muwala alete ebisirani. So I'm like, it's okay. Then they threatened to go to the media and write a story about me, how I want to infect their children with my condition. So that gave me an idea, and I'm like, you know what, you want to use the media, right?
Let me get there before you.
I'm not contagious, and I'm going to prove you wrong. You're just being ignorant about something that you think you know. So I'm going to come out and probably educate everyone else who thinks that I am contagious, because I was really tired of the stigma. Today you wake up, someone is calling you this, someone is calling. I remember in school, some senior actually called me animal print.
What?
And I'm like, yes, I'm beautiful with my scars. And I walked away smartly because I was a prefect. So I told this boy to come and sweep because he was late. Then he's like, I don't listen to animal print. I'm like, duh, I'm beautiful with my scars. And I walked away. Like, I had this full confidence in me of, no matter what you say, no matter what you do, I will never go down. And I always cry in the dark. No one will ever get to know that Santa is down because of what people have said. If you rub it in my face, yes, I will pick it up and probably lash back at you. Then I walk away and give you this attitude of, it won't bring me down. And I always use people's words as a stepping stone, because I know no one defines us. You're the one that has the pen to your life. You write your own life story. You know, people will always break you, rate you, and shake you, but how firm you stand is what defines you. And I always live up to that, because Daddy has always told me the sky is never the limit. So I aim for the stars, and I know I'll reach there.
You were speaking about, you're at university now?
Yes.
What are you studying?
I'm doing social work and social administration.
And you're in which year?
I'm going to my second year.
Okay, so the people who are being told to keep away from you, this was recently at the university?
Yes, this was recent at the university, actually last semester. I don't know where it came from, and these people just come and tell me, Santa, we can't talk to you. I'm like, why? Then they tell me, so I'm like, it's okay. Besides, you don't have to force life with people. If they don't want you, it's okay. If they want to stay, they'll always stay. So I let them go.
When did you get to be this person, this strong person who has these kinds of thoughts about what anybody else would be broken by?
I should say right from the time I fell sick, because I studied while sick. P1, P2, I was doing exams in hospital. So the time I got back to class, in one of those pictures where I was looking totally different, people didn't want to be around me because, one, I would be in Pampers. They didn't want to sit with me. Okay, I would not really pee in the Pampers though, but they just didn't want to be around me because of what I was. So I taught myself how to be strong and always said, Santa, you didn't ask for this, but you have to live life. And I didn't want to die, honestly. I didn't want to die. I always told God, at least let me die when I'm already old enough and I've seen a lot of things. And sometimes I would be like, no, let me die after getting my own kids. Then I would be like, no, let me die after speaking to people and teaching people that, you know what, people don't ask for what they have. It just comes. Besides, God gives you what he thinks you can carry. And I think he gave me this because he knew I was someone strong enough to carry it, because I believe if it was someone else in my position, suicide would have been an option. Because of the things that people say. Day in, day out, you wake up to a lot of insults. You wake up to people giving you eyes. Sometimes I will be on a border, then people in taxis are like peeping out of the window to see who is passing. And, okay, I should say I love attention, because, this condition has really taught me how to love attention.
Okay, yeah.
You be passing, someone is looking at you, then I also turn and look at them and smile and continue. Like, this is me. My scars define me. They are uniform, a mark that I fought death and I defeated it. So I'll always wear them with pride.
What has been the worst thing for you about all of this?
The stigma. That has been the worst. The stigma, then the daily expenses. Sometimes I feel so guilty, having to call my parents, study this, study that.
What are the daily expenses like?
Roughly in a week, Daddy has to send about 500,000 because I need creams. Today you're using this, it's bringing this out. I need tablets. Sometimes I collapse out of the blue. I'm on treatment. I need to watch what I eat. So it's a lot. Like I showed you last time, my arms are peeling a lot. So I'm basically confined to long sleeves and I have to wear a lot of turtlenecks because my neck itches. Sometimes I scratch myself really so bad and you really see Santa is having, actually you see pieces of my skin falling off and you're like, yeah, so you're going to sweep this out with the rubbish. And you have to keep on treating. You try this cream, it's not working. You try this cream, it's not working. There is a cream that I got just about, actually it was yesterday evening. I got it from Doctor's Plaza in Zambia. And it was 120,000. So after using it, after buying it and opening it, I'm like, so I'm going to use this and there will be no change. So I first kept it.
So you've not tried it yet?
No, because I know it's going to be the same thing.
What's your doctor saying about all of this?
She told me the condition has no cure. The condition has no cure. I just have to learn how to live with it and prevent further symptoms and a lot of calcifications that may come out. So many times when they come, I don't want to ask Daddy for that 50,000 to cut it off. I got a surgical blade, it's 1,000. Buy cotton wool, do it myself. I mean, with time, the pain becomes part of you, so you hardly feel it.
Let me see. These are the calcifications?
Yes.
So you cut like one. Okay, so this is, does this go on its own or did you cut?
No, this is coming.
Okay. How can you cut them yourself?
I learned how to do it when the expenses became really so much for my parents. I thought of ways in which I would help them cut it down. So I resolved to asking them for the surgical blades and be like, Dad, I can't do this, Mommy, I can't do this. Sometimes they're like, no, if they refuse, I'll get a nail cutter. Disinfect it, hot water, cut it off. And I'm good to go.
So for example, this one was what was on your arm in the bandage, the picture where your arm is bandaged.
It was something like this, though covered with skin tissue, and it was really hard. So that one had to be cut by the medical experts themselves because it was so deep and it was almost reaching the bone. There is actually one other that is coming up here.
That's one hole.
This is one hole that will have to be cut. Though I keep on dodging the cutting. I don't want to have any bandages yet. But this is where I was cut. And as you can see, my skin.
The back of your skin as well, your elbow.
Yeah.
So when you said that this was, when we met on last week, was it that last week? You said that this was one of the bad times.
Yeah, this was one of my bad times because my skin is going from, I should say good, very good, to bad again because it hasn't been there and I'm having a relapse. So we are back to square zero in a way, except that this time around I can talk, I can eat. But back then I would not talk, I would not eat, I wouldn't move.
What does your skin look like on a good day, on a very good day?
On a very good, I don't have this in the arms. The only problem will be my face and my neck. But elsewhere will be so fine.
Does it look like, so like here?
Yeah, I should say like here or like my legs. Because I have perfectly normal skin. That is when this is not coming up. But when it comes up, I get this.
How often does it come up?
It depends. Sometimes it's so abrupt, it just comes back. I can be fine for about a week, then it will come back, be fine for about 3 days, and you think it's gone. Then it's back again, and then you suffer with it for about a month, 2 months. Sometimes it can drag on. Yeah.
Are there triggers, you know?
Yeah, sometimes they are, like when I get into contact with strong smells. If I'm in places that have, not yours though.
Okay.
If I'm in places that are having a lot of chemicals, like when I was in school, I used to avoid the labs a lot. I actually did my chemistry practicals using my eyes.
How?
I mean, I didn't mix stuff. I would see my neighbors, if it's blue, I know it's copper. So I would write copper. Then I didn't touch any chemical because I knew if I touched, that was the end of my senior 4 exams. So I used my eyes for the paper.
We're going to pick up from there. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're coming to you from the Athena Hotel in Bugolobi, and we're speaking to Santa Fungaro, who's been sharing her very unfiltered thoughts on how people look at her, considering the condition that she has. So Santa, I wanted to ask you, what's the plan now going forward for you and your family in terms of trying to handle? I failed from the first time we met to be able to say
Dermatomyositis or connective tissue disorder.
Connective tissue disorder. What's the plan?
I read about a center in Canada. It's called the Myositis Center. And when I was reading through, they said they could treat the condition, but the problem is the financial bit of it. Because truth is, my mom is a housewife. She stopped earning in 2011. So daddy is practically the only breadwinner. So it's all on him. He has to pay tuition, he has to pay fees for my younger siblings when we all fall sick because we all have asthma. So this one is down, the other one is down. Considering the fact that it's the rainy season now, he has to sleep with his phones on because anytime school is going to call him, Dara is down, Maria is down, Santa is sick. Something like that. So it's really hard financially, but if given a chance, I think the Myositis Center in Canada is the place to be and the place to go, because they treat dermatomyositis, and that is the place that I know can help.
You're sure they treated you've read about them?
Yes, I've read about them. I have even sent them a mail. That was in 2014, because I was really so curious to know. I was in senior 3 then, and I just wanted to know who can help and who cannot. So I sent various mails. I would actually use my mom's email address, send to various people, then pretend like I know nothing. Then when they reply, the one going to read, then afterwards I would delete. But I saved that particular one because it carried a lot of valid information, and they even gave a number of drugs that they told me to try. So sometimes instead of going to hospital, I would tell Daddy, let's do this drug. And yeah, turns out it would help out.
Why are you self-medicating though?
Because going to hospital is consultation after consultation, and the money that I would actually use for consultation would actually buy me 2 different drugs. So I would think it's called smartness and trying to cut extra costs.
So right now it's try and error.
Yeah.
What does your doctor say about that?
She told me, actually she gave me a go-ahead. Dr. Chitoka, she works at Doctor's Plaza in Zambia. She always tells me, just do what you think you can do. The others are always how she'll ask me, did you try that? I'm like, yes. Did it work out? Yes. Okay, we are going to try that as well. Because I thank her for having really managed to get me out of that point of me saying goodbye to the world and putting me on steroids. Because when she first diagnosed me, she told my parents, we are going to gamble. And yes, life has been a gamble for the past 14 years now. It was 13 then, so it's now 14 years. We've been gambling. We try this, we try that, we try this, and there is nothing that practically works out so well. So I do the prednisone as a life support when I'm really down. But when I feel I'm fine, I let it be, because there is no point in continuously taking something that is going to weaken you, yet keep you alive at the same time. So I'd rather be strong and alive. Yeah.
Who was your inspiration?
I draw inspiration from a lot of people, but most especially Winnie, this lady that has vitiligo. She has different prints. I mean, she is so pretty with her prints. At some point I wish I had vitiligo instead, because she really looks good. And yes, I have a bit of vitiligo though. You'd want to know where. It's here around my eyes.
Yeah.
But it's just not so like
pronounced.
And I would really want to have that vitiligo that everyone looks at, and you'd rather call me animal print with vitiligo than calling me animal print for some vitiligo that is just so small. So I look up to Winnie a lot.
What would you say to your parents and your siblings? Your sibling?
Actually, to my siblings, because there are 2, I'll tell them the world is harsh. People shall always put you down, but be strong and fight, because you can only get where you are, like Daddy says, through academics. So read your books and always excel, because it's only your papers that will take you so high up there. To my parents, Mommy and Daddy, I love you so much. Thanks for always being there. I mean, you're the reason I am this strong. You've always told me, Santa, you're bold. And truth is, I'm not bold, I'm beyond bold, because I have seen myself down. I look at those pictures that you took, and I want to say thank you for taking all those pictures, because if you were to tell me that I was in that situation, honestly, I wouldn't believe I was that bad. I would think maybe you were exaggerating it, but thank you for keeping the pictures, and I promise you I won't let you down. And to all those that have always been supporting me, I just want to say thank you. I have those really, really caring uncles that are always talking to me. I want to say thank you. I won't let you down, and at the end of it all, I will be healed. I will be better, and I will keep on talking to people to fight stigma, because stigma is a silent killer.
What's your plan for sensitization? I know this is just the start for you.
I am, and I want to be the ambassador for stigma. Actually, not want, I am the ambassador for stigma. So I'm going to fight stigma tooth and nail. I'm going to come out, keep on sharing my story. I'm sure there are people in worse conditions than me. People that have given up on life, people that look at suicide as the only option. I'm going to look at coming out and talking to them, going to schools, and I have an event coming up at St. Joseph's in Zambia where I'm having a number of schools coming. I've organized a Miss Eloquence where they're going to write pieces basing on stigma, stories related to stigma that they have heard about, and they'll come and present. So we shall crown the best speaker of the day, the Miss Eloquence Ambassador for Stigma in Schools. So that's going to be my first step to fighting stigma in schools.
Wow. Well, as we close, because we're almost done, you said earlier when we were speaking to you, and you said you never thought you'd get to this age. How old are you?
I'm 19.
You're 19 today.
Yes.
You've been rubbing your birthday in my face. I don't know why you're quiet about it
I'm
now.
19. Sweet 19.
Okay.
I never thought I would reach 19. People thought I was going to die by 10. Then they're like, maybe I should reach 15. So I'm past 15, I'm 19. And next year I'll be 20. And I will graduate. I will have an introduction ceremony where I'll get married afterwards, and I'll have grandkids for my dad and my mom. And yes, I will die a very, very old person. So those that thought I was going to die, no, I'm still living, and I'm still going to grow fat, and I have to gain weight.
All right. Well, we wanted to say happy birthday in a special way. We had you asking your dad for something. So us guys here and also Athena Hotel wanted to say happy birthday.
Santa.
We had you asking for, what was the cake you wanted? There you go.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Santa.